Hey, what's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you are listening to the Mindshare Podcast, a proud member of the Industry Syndicate Media Network. Additional podcasts are available at industrysyndicate.com and mindshare101.com. This week's episode is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems. This is episode 18. So I met this guy a number of years ago when he was working as a manager for one of our big banks here in Canada. He went from underwriting to sales to management, and he's always been a really, really driven individual with big plans. He prides himself in giving back to the community with his annual fundraising for Dr. Roz's Healing Place and the Easter Seals Foundation. He is the principal broker at Integrity Mortgage Solutions and the CEO of Integrity Tree Solutions. And to top it all off, he is a huge Raptors fan. Yes. I am excited to introduce Mr. Asif Kasim to the Mindshare Podcast today. Thank you for being here, my man.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, buddy, I'm excited. I know that this was sort of a little bit last minute in terms of the invite going out, and it wasn't a lack of desire. This was more of one of those. I know that there was a lot of desire, so I was like, wait a second, the opening is there. I'm going for this right now.
You know, you told me about this so long ago, and I knew I wanted to be on it. So when you told me that, hey, can you do this? I'm like, let me change my schedule and make it happen because I wanted to be on this.
I love it, bro. I thank you, man. No, seriously, I'm very grateful that you're here. And as always, like you were asking me, so Dave, what do you go on about? I mean, you know what I go on about when it comes to Mindshare. But that's the idea here, right? We want everybody that's watching us to walk away with some nuggets that they can use to build Mindshare, right? And so for starters, you used to be in the banking world. We know that. And then you made the switch over to the broker world. And yes. There's always a lot of talk. Like I was just in Arizona last week. As I mentioned, some of my audience, we were there last week, and I was on Tuesday with a mortgage company presenting to realtors. And as we were there, they were doing obviously their meeting as well. And I mean, this is natural. You know, I've been around the mortgage space for many, many, many years, playing in the same sandbox with you guys, essentially from a marketing perspective. There's always a lot of talk about retention. There's always a lot of talk about, and we know there's a lot more red tape when it comes to the banking world. Like it just is what it is, right? But there's a lot of talk about that. And then there's that whole thing of, should people be making the switch? Should people not be? We know, again, it's all about retention. But why did you make the switch? Like what benefits came with that? And why would you suggest to anybody that, that's going at this for the long term? Like why should they maybe do the same or maybe not?
Well, you know what? It's not for everybody, first of all. There are some brokers who should have stayed at the bank, and there are some bankers who should jump ship right away, right? Okay. It's just a sort of personality trait that goes with it. For me, I was in a position where I was management, but I couldn't do sales. And at the bank, you're either one or the other. You can't do both.
Right.
It just got to a point where my clientele were contacting me and saying, hey, where are you? Can you help us out? And I missed it. I truly missed the sales aspect of it. I missed my clientele. So as opposed to sticking around and handing off all my clients to somebody else, I just got into a place where I could do both. So as you know, banks, there's red tape. There are rules and regulations and the way they do things. And I just got to a point where I need my own freedom. I need to be the one who called the shots versus being told to go left when I should have gone right. Right. So,
and you were always, I mean, from what I remember, you were always in that. I mean, look, man, not to let the cat out of the bag, but I mean, the reality is you always had big plans up your sleeves. Like I remember just sitting down, talking with you after we'd have your, where your entire team was in front of us, we'd just be talking about sort of where you were going with things. And and I've said this to you before, like I always kind of looked at the banking thing. And I'm like, oh man, this guy's got like a glass ceiling on him right now. Like he just wants to bust through this stuff. He's got so many big plans. So when we look at that then, and they talk about, even from a marketing perspective, and we talk here today, right, about building your brand as an entrepreneur, it almost seems like they hold people back a lot from being able to get out there and really portray who those people are. From a broker or from a banker perspective, like, again, what are some of the advantages, disadvantages there? If maybe what tips or what kind of advice are we giving to people who might be thinking about that?
Well, I would say, so let's start with banking for a moment. And this is across the board, all banks. Their goal, their number one priority is their shareholder. It's
Right.
nobody else but the shareholder. So let's always keep that in the back of your head. So if you're going to be a sales rep or somebody working for one of the banks, you got to carry their flag. You got to be their way. And it almost dims out your personal shine. Whoever you are as a person,
Right.
it casts a shadow on you. So you got to be, that blue bank, that green bank, that red bank, whatever it may be, and you got to be that person. So if you are a little bit out of line, they don't allow for that type of growth. They don't allow you to personally brand yourself. Now, I can understand why, because at the end of the day, you represent them. And if something ever goes wrong, then they're not going to remember you, the individual. They'll say, that person who worked at that bank messed me up. And now you're in a position, or the bank is in a position of having to clean up that image. So I understand what they're doing, and I get that. But it doesn't leave a lot of room to build your personal brand as to who you are. A few years back, I did a little bit of an experiment on Facebook where I put out there, the first three things you think of when I bring up my name. And it was always the same three things. And it's all my personal branding, who I am. Everybody, like yourself, knows about the Raptors.
Yeah.
Everybody knows I'm in the mortgage business. Everybody knows that fashion and socks. Like, I've always got funky color socks. Right?
This is true. Yeah.
So those are the three things. And that's my personal brand. When people see me, one of those things typically come up. So I've done a great job of impressing upon the society, or when I say society, my network, that this is who I am. This is what I'm about. Right.
Could you do that in the banking world, though?
I was a little bit more reserved.
Okay.
I was a little bit more, I would say, there was restrictions on what you could and couldn't do.
Yeah.
What's interesting, so, we're on the topic of all this branding, all that stuff. When did Facebook start? 2006, I believe.
6 or 7, yeah, exactly.
So 2007, this is when I was at the Green Bank.
Yeah.
There's no other Green Bank, yeah, I know. When I was over there, it was interesting. Facebook had just started and I joined up, and the policy was you cannot use social media to brand yourself and market.
I remember this.
That was a policy. So me being the person that I was and not great with authority, I decided to do it anyway. And we're years later now. We're over 10 years later, but I went out and I started to market myself as a mortgage specialist at that bank. And it represented about 40 to 45% of my volume that year.
Wow.
So then I went back to the sales manager after they all said, no, you shouldn't do it. And I said, here are my numbers. Here's where it came from. Within about 3 months, all policies had changed. And they're saying, yeah, you can use social media now. Now, I've heard that they've now restricted it again. But back then, I was one of the lead guys then trying to make a change because the world was changing. Right? And
I'd certainly say they've changed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was getting my personality out there, and the personality part of it is what drew the attention. Right. And it wasn't all he's a mortgage guy and that's it. People got to know me for me. And as a result of being able to relate to me, they were comfortable and confident in my other skills, as they saw in the background.
I love that point. I love that point because we get a lot of questions around, the validity of the social media world, the validity of online. And I would say to anybody, you've really got to take this thing by the horns right now and fully understand social media is here to stay. You've got to be involved in it. If you want to step up your game on it, you really want it to work for your business, there are certain things you need to be doing. And part of that is what we come back to as consistency, right?
Yes.
Dude, like I see, the Raptors posts on a regular basis. I see the sock posts. I see, I know what you do for a living for sure. And it's all consistency of that message that goes, I like this guy. I trust it. Exactly what you've got behind you, but I know who he is. I like him. And yeah, you know what? I've built a trust factor, but we know that doesn't come overnight. Right. And that's a big thing that people need to understand. How many questions I got last week from people going, so, I put up a post on social and I posted something on Facebook and I didn't get any business. No, you've got this thing all wrong. It doesn't work like that. You don't post something on Facebook and get business from it. You got to put time into it. There's got to be, there's got to be TLC put into this thing. And hey, like anything else, and I've said it a million times and I will continue to say it another million times, it is like real estate. It is a long-term investment. Right?
It takes time. It definitely takes time. Nobody just meets you, sees a sign that says, hey, let's just do business. Right. Especially when we're talking about the worlds that we're talking about in terms of mortgages and real estate. Those are $500,000 transactions. Just because you seem like a cool person on the first time I see you doesn't mean I'm going to tell you my personal finances.
Right, exactly.
You build that trust over time. Right.
That's the thing. I mean, to anybody who's selling mortgages in this business, I mean, even the realtors watching this stuff and listening to it, it's that exact right there. We don't just see a sign and go, oh my God, yeah, you. It's not your logo. It's not your colors. It's not your branding. It's none of that stuff. It's who are you? Right. Yeah. And that's where we've come to these days. It's just not about the fancy schmancy look and feel. It's about the real deal, like bread and butter. Right. So let me ask you this then. Where does most of your business come from? Would it be people you know? So we talk about referrals. We talk about refinancing, repeat business. Would it be people you don't know? And I'm just going to throw this on there. If it's people you don't know and you're sort of going, well, I get some business from those people. We just talked about consistency. Is it not though? And again, I'm kind of like assumptive on one of your answers there, but is it not when you get these people you don't know that they still got to go into this kind of nurturing process and turn them into people who trust you?
Yeah. So this is exactly how it plays out for me. The majority of my business is past clients and my personal network.
Okay.
I have my referral sources and they're great. They bring in new business to me. There's an inherent trust that the realtor said, go deal with Asif, right? So the client trusts me at that point. With regards to my past network, they refer me other clients. And even if it's somebody brand new that I really just don't know who this person is, there's a degree of separation through someone else they know. And they've been watching my social media. And then they would go and ask my network, hey, how was he? Was he good? And then they'll contact me, or there's a warm handoff somewhere in there. I don't actually have random strangers who there's 0 degree of separation, and I don't want them either.
Yeah, okay. I like that. That's fair.
Listen, if I don't know you, I don't know what you're bringing to the table. And if I can't trust where this is coming from, my flags are up, because you mean to tell me you live in a city where there are thousands of mortgage professionals and you don't know one and you chose me? Really?
That's a real deal answer right there.
Yeah. So, I gotta question that.
Yeah.
So, but my network, my business comes to me as a result of warm referrals. And people know who I am. And they know who I am because they see my stuff on a routine basis. And it's not just get a mortgage, get a mortgage, get a mortgage. It's not that. They see the fun and silly things I do. They see the things I work on. They see my ups, they see my downs, they see my mindset. They see so many different things. And you either like me or you don't. And I mean, you and I both know not everybody's going to like you, and that's fine. Worry about the people who do.
Yeah.
This whole branding thing, it's like you said, consistency, frequency. The key to me is when you think you have a need, I want to be that person that is synonymous with that need. So you think you need financing, you need a loan, you need insurance, you need whatever it may be. I want you to think, hey, Asif does that stuff, or he knows somebody who does. Call me first, right? It's no different than when you think of coffee. You're thinking of Starbucks or McDonald's or Tim Hortons or something like that. I want to be that synonymous. I want to be the burger. You think McDonald's, you think me, right? When you think of different things, I want to be synonymous, number 1 or number 2 on your list. And it's just consistency and branding. I
got a term for that. I call it mind share. But that's exactly what it is, right?
Exactly.
So here, tell me this then. So what are you doing? Okay. What are you doing on a regular to be that person?
So it's a mix.
The day, sorry, forgive me to interrupt you there. Not what do you eat for breakfast, but what does the day look like in terms of what do you need to accomplish today for you to sit back and go, yeah, you know what? I did a good job building Mindshare today. I did a good job sort of doing what you just said, kind of just getting it out there. Because we know, again, it's just a consistent daily thing you got to do for it to all come together, right?
In sales, if you're not visible, you're out of mind. If you're not top of mind, you're out of mind.
Yep.
Right?
Love it.
So I do a combination of things. Like every morning is social media for me. Every morning I wake up, I'm posting something.
How long are you spending on social in the morning?
In the morning, at least 20 minutes. I'm just posting something.
Okay.
I'm not scrolling through other people's stuff. I'm just posting what I need to post with my strategy, my hashtag, my contact information, or whatever's relevant. And that's it. I walk away at that point in time.
Okay.
The key for me is a mix of things. So am I calling people up? Am I getting out in front of meetings? Am I touching someone some way, somehow that they remember me? Because remember, everybody wakes up in the morning, they look at their social media. Yep. I think from about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning till about 10 o'clock, people are spending their time scrolling through Instagram and Facebook or LinkedIn.
Yep.
So I want to be there when they're up and doing it, because that's, if I'm correct, that's the highest time for viewership, right? First thing in the morning, people are doing that on their way to work or on their breaks, whatever it may be. So I want to be there already. But then after that, throughout the day, am I calling people? Am I going out for coffee? Am I grabbing a lunch? Am I doing a seminar? It's how many people have seen me, heard from me, interacted with me throughout the day on a routine basis. I've always seen this, and this is really the same in both industries, mortgages and real estate, and I suspect every other sales environment.
Yeah.
The ones who sit at their desk all day long aren't doing the business.
No.
The ones who you can't find in the office, those are the ones making the money. The ones who are out and about networking, shaking hands, kissing babies, saying hello, grabbing a coffee, doing all that stuff, those are the people who are successful because they're touching other lives. They're interacting. But if you sit there all day long at your desk, just waiting for it to fall out the sky, it ain't going to fall out the sky.
No. It's not coming to you. And I love what you just mentioned, because we sort of go from, building the brand, we talk about social, but when I say, what are you up to in a day? You're going, look, social's a piece of that. I still have to get out there and make my calls. I have to get out there and I have to see people. I've got to be with people. And I mean, one of the things I say to a lot of my coaching clients is, meet one new person a day. Right. And we think about this. And I mean, for everybody listening, I want you to think about this and internalize this. You could have an amazing online game in check. You could have wicked lead gen going on. You could have your social media stuff happening. I'm curious to know, you may get more than 500 leads a year, but I'm curious to know if you get at least 365 of those that are quality. And where I'm going with that is, if you go out and meet one new person a day, that's a quality interaction. Doesn't mean they're going to do business with you, but these people you could potentially connect with on Facebook and start to develop a relationship. You could put these people into your database and start to stay in touch with them through simply a relational perspective rather than trying to go after the business. If they want to do business, once they get the know you, like you, trust you, and all that stuff happening, you're doing it properly, they're probably going to come to you for the business, right? But one new person a day. So what you just said there was absolutely massive. And I think it's important for everybody here to pick up on that, is that if you just get out there and don't sit at your desk, go out and meet with people, you can literally, that one person, you can add them to your database. It's 365 quality meetings a year.
So before I got to this business, when I first applied to this business, actually, it's a funny story. When I first applied to this job, the sales manager looked at me, and I wasn't a sales guy. I wasn't in sales.
Yeah.
Mortgages. He says, Asif, it's a three-legged stool. And you have to have two of those legs to balance, but you've got one. He says, you have to have a network, you need to know credit, and you need to have, you need to be a salesperson, of which you're a salesperson. Through and through, you're a sales guy. But you don't have a network, you don't have credit knowledge. And he said, you want to be successful? If you called 5 people every day, and now we're talking 15 plus years ago, he said, if you called 5 people every day, 5 new people every day, you're going to do better than your average person.
There you go.
And
how easy is that? 5 people. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. 5 phone calls. Hey, how's it going?
You 25, right?
Exactly. But I mean, just to have 5 conversations on a daily basis, so someone's thinking of you, and you just keep that up. 5 days a week, that's 25 a week. It's 100 a month. Think about that, 100 per month.
Yeah.
Right? And you said 365.
Yeah, exactly. It's too
Think
easy.
about how many people you're talking to, right? And if you only need a fraction of those to convert, 5 conversations a day is easy.
It's
God,
too
I spend hours a day doing nothing sometimes in my head, right? Like, if it's not planned out in my calendar, I spend a lot of time in my head. And I imagine if I utilize that time
yeah.
just to make a phone call.
So tell me this then, speaking of that, because you just brought up a good one, because a moment ago when you said you go on social media in the mornings, you go on social, you do your thing, you get your post. How do you determine what you're posting each morning? And I'm going to piggyback that with, do you have a content calendar you've created? Like, do you know the night before what you want to post in the morning? How do you come up with that content? I mean, because that's a big thing a lot of people struggle with is like, what should they post?
So what we do, and it's not myself, it's my company as a whole. We do this for all the agents who work on our team. On Sunday night, we're going to send you a list of things to post for the week. Here's Monday, here's Tuesday, here's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Here's what you say. Here's what your hashtags look like. Customize it with your phone number and your email address, and we'll send it to you in advance. So every day I wake up, I just look for, okay, this is Monday's post. Click, post it up. That's it. I don't want to think about what do I need to do. I want it ready. And salespeople are salespeople. We're inherently a certain degree of lazy, right? Like, we just don't want to have to do stuff. We want it done for us.
And we are the busiest people you've ever met.
Exactly. So in my world, I look at my guys and I love my guys. I know the personalities. So I say, team, here's everything for you in advance, right? And we're going to hand it to you. If you don't want to use it, that's on you. But I've brought it to you. So you can't say you have nothing to work with.
Right.
If you come up with something additional that you like, go ahead, post it on your own. There are random moments where I'll see something inspirational or something I like, and I'll just post it up on the spot. But I already have a foundation of what I need to post for the week. So I find if you're organized in advance, you can accomplish a lot more. If you're trying to wake up and think about what to do for the day, half your day will be spinning your wheels trying to figure out what to do.
Gone. Right. And then you said that when you post, essentially what you're doing is you're getting up and you're essentially literally posting and moving on. You're not sitting there kind of lackluster scrolling and just kind of doing your thing, but you're pointed. You've got purpose when you're going on to social.
You know what? Social media is that phenomenon that you could lose yourself. I mean, I've had days on a weekend, I could sit there and an hour and a half could go by. I'm still on my phone staring at social media. And it's just information, right? Lots of information you bring in, which is, it's entertaining, it's relaxing, it's mindless, but your day will go by if you get caught up with it. And there's a time and place for that. But if you're trying to achieve things in your life, if you're trying to succeed, you better manage your time wisely. And that's, you get on, post, move on to something different, because it's a vortex. It'll suck you right in.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's one of the things I say to everybody is act with purpose, right? When you're on there and you're doing your thing, make sure that there's purpose to why you're there. You're going to post something. You're going to connect with, 5 to 10 people, which is really stupid, simple, clicking like or love or hate or, wow, whatever, a reaction, even putting a comment in there. Those little things you do, you send out a friend request, maybe join a group quickly, check into a group, have a little bit of a conversation, get involved. You can do that stuff if you're scheduled properly. You can get that stuff out of the way in literally, I know for me, because the amount of groups I'm and pages and everything else that I'm kind of going to, I give myself a 30 to 60 minute window every single morning to kind of go through my ranks, right? But it is that thing that you're absolutely bang on. I've compared this many times before. Social media is like the brick breaker on BlackBerry. We never really realized why we played it, but we just did it aimlessly. And now we're there and we can connect with people. But when you do it, instead of just going on there and wasting your time and scrolling, like you just mentioned, where an hour and a half could pass by, get in there with purpose. Right?
It's different if you jump on and you're on a group chat or a page where everyone's asking questions and there's interaction. Okay, there's purpose there, and that's fine. But if you're looking at I love cats, okay, that's a whole other. You're digressing. You're going off in another direction. You're losing yourself, right?
Yeah.
If you're looking at, and this was a common thing, and it still catches me. Basketball comes on, I'm staring at basketball. Hey, what's happening outside?
Well, yeah, I was watching somebody was just yelling at somebody on the street over there. So I was just trying to figure out if everybody's okay. We don't have to turn around the camera, maybe get a little bit more excitement. But from a calendar perspective and the organization thing there.
Mhm.
So you know what you're doing with social in the morning. You've got your calls in there. So you're literally rigidly working with the calendar, right?
You know what? My social media is strategic and purposeful. There's a game plan. There's not a randomness to it, other than the odd personal post I'll put up. There's no randomness to it. There's a reason why it's going out. There's a time frame it's going out. There's a rhyme and reason for everything I do on social media. It's all thought out.
So now let's go back to this one then. When I talked about ROI, right? I'm curious to know. So, I mean, something I mentioned off the top of today's call, but I've had a lot of people saying, I post and I don't see any business back. I don't get any dollars back. I'm not seeing the ROI from it. And I've been one to say to everybody, look, it's nice to see that you get a lot of comments and a lot of reactions from people. It's really nice to see that. It's really nice to see when you get a lot of shares or you get a ton of views on a video. It can really suck and be demeaning when you don't get that, right? Mm-hmm. So it's almost that thing of, first of all, don't measure your social media presence based on how many reactions you get from other people. Instead, measure it by how consistent you are, right? And then it comes back and people go, yeah, but I'm putting in all this time. I'm not really seeing the dollars from it. And, again, to me, that's laughable because you could put out a billboard, you could put out a piece of direct mail, you could put out an email, you could have your website, you could walk around and see people. Do you get business from it just like that? And the answer is no.
No, you don't.
Right?
You don't.
So how do you measure for yourself almost? Again, how are you measuring, or what are you expecting from ROI? How are you measuring ROI? Do you even care about ROI? Are you just doing this because you realize the bigger long game? Like, what's the deal behind that? Because again, I know you're consistent with this stuff. I see it. Yeah. And like you said, where you post in the morning, you give some information. You are also randomly posting at different times of the day. There's just like random stuff. I'll be scrolling. I'll see a pic of you at the game or whatever. Right? What do you expect?
You know what?
Why are you doing it?
There's no way of measuring it. It's almost impossible. You don't walk up to a client and say, hey, how'd you find me? Was it on Facebook? Right? You don't have that conversation. That's not a normal conversation to have. I know that it works because people will say, hey, I love your stuff. Or they'll bring up a topic that I might have posted that in my head, I'm like, I know we didn't talk about this, so you must have saw it on social media, right? Or they know who I am by introduction. Hey, meet so-and-so. And that says, yeah, I know who you are. I see some of your stuff. And that's all I need. It reinforces. Now, does it say I'm going to, in my head, it's not, I just got a deal out of this. It's, you know who I am. And the key for marketing is not that you see my post, you buy from me. That's not the key. It's you see my stuff, I'm stuck in your head. You may not have a need for a mortgage today. You may not have a need for any of the other services under our umbrella. But if it does come up, you're thinking of me.
Absolutely.
And that's the key.
And
or if someone else brings it up.
Go for it.
If someone else brings it up, you may not need it, but you say, hey, I got a buddy, he does this stuff. Go talk to him. And that's what a lot of stuff happens with me. I'll get a referral saying, hey, so-and-so referred me over. And my first thought is, I never did their mortgage, but they referred you over, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's how it works. You can't measure it. And people who give up don't get it. It's like that meme you see with that guy digging for diamonds and he's at the bottom and he turns away and the guy at the top is going hardcore and he's going to get it, right? You just don't give up. You keep doing it. Inevitably, there's a return on that from the standpoint of you are taking up mind share.
I love the point. Above and beyond the mindshare point you just made, but no, I love the point you just made on that though. For sort of keep going, right? Because how many times every single one of us go, you know what? I'm just fed up. I just want to sort of pack it in or what? We're humans. There are those moments that everybody has that goes, oh my God, maybe it's not working. And it could be social, could be anything we do in life, but it could be working out. Anything, right? Where you're at that brink of literally going, you know what, I'm done. I'm throwing the towel in.
Yeah.
And the point you just brought up is massive, because I'll tell you something, for the times that happens to me, I remind myself of exactly what you just said. It's, look how much further ahead I am right now than the next person that's trying to do what I'm doing. Right. And I mean, there's many people way further ahead than me, but there's only one way to catch people, and that's be consistent, and that's keep going and do and do and do. And then there's only one way to make it all work for yourself, and that's just to be consistent and do and do and do. If you give up now, you don't know what was about to happen tomorrow. You don't know what phone calls about to happen or what emails are going to go off.
I agree. I find most people fail with lack of consistency.
That's what it comes down to, buddy.
That's how they fail.
Big deal of it, right?
They're not consistent, and it falls off, and then people just say, "Oh, he's not doing it anymore."
Right.
So, I don't see
just dissipate, and then there's not a lot of mind share being built. So
I was going to say, a lot of it. Listen, social media is important. It's not the be all and end all. There are so many other things to do. The only thing I'd say about social media is it's free.
Yeah,
push the button. It's free. Everything else. There are times where you want to reallocate funds from one place to another. I get that. But social media, you don't have to reallocate anything. Just do it. That's it.
Okay. Then let me ask you something. Are you spending a dime, a dollar, a penny? Are you spending any money on social? And it's not that people shouldn't be, but I do believe that if people are going to, they definitely need to have a budget in mind. Do you spend any money to do anything on social in any way?
I do, but it's the design factor. It's not the sponsorship factor. So I don't push money out there to say, I'll put $100 behind this post to get it out there. On occasion I do, but rarely.
Okay.
Right? But the design factor of making sure what I put out there looks branded and it's attractive. Remember, I have a brand. It's Integrity Tree. So I'm not putting out purple and yellow polka dots. Right. It's got to be consistent across the board. It's got to be professional. It's got to be appealing. So I hire people to say, hey, listen, you're representing my brand. You're putting me out in the market. Right. Like, so it can't just be a random scribble. Let's just try this. It's got to be done correctly. But if you're personally putting out your own brand and you're not representing another brand, you're just putting out something for yourself to create your own personal brand, go nuts. Be smart about it. Be tasteful about it, right? The key is consistency. Because maybe you put out one stupid post, and it happens. I've seen it done.
Yep.
But we'll forget about that post inevitably. Delete it, move it, and move on.
Yep.
Right? But keep doing it. Keep posting, keep posting, keep posting.
And you must get people that come up to you and go, oh yeah, I saw your blah, blah, blah. And you're like, in your head, you're kind of going, it's funny. I remember that post. I don't remember you engaging with it at all. Right? Yeah. I didn't get a like or a comment from you, yet you're telling me you saw it. Which to me, that's like, there's the fuel that goes, you know what? Way more people than you think are seeing your stuff, and you are having an impact through that consistency a lot more than you think. And I mean, that goes for, again, everything from the social to the seeing people, to the phone calls, to the emails, to the brand building, the sponsorships. And I know you do a lot of that stuff. That goes hand in hand with all of it, right?
Well, you just brought to mind this. So this is a funny. It was interesting, and it was a proud moment for me. It's about 2 years ago. I was out at a party with a buddy of mine. It was one of those day boat cruises or something like that. And he and I were chatting and talking. So we were walking, and he got pulled aside by a young lady, and they were talking. And he was explaining, yeah, I'm with my friend Asif over there. And she's like, yeah, I recognize him. Isn't he that mortgage guy? I have no clue who this girl is. Never met her before, right? But I could hear it in the background. And I'm talking, I was maybe about 7-8 feet away now. And this grin came over my face. I'm like, she obviously knows who I am from my social media, because I don't know that girl, right? So it was kind of cool. And little things like that let me know you're watching, right? Little things like when people make a comment on, how was that Raptor game? Well, you and I don't talk. How do you know I was at that game?
Right?
And then it's open door to have a conversation. If you're comfortable enough to approach me on something that I posted, you're open enough to have a further relationship down the line and build that bond so we can start doing business. Right? That's how it works.
We were we were in Arizona on Tuesday last week so the venue was basically on a golf course, and it wasn't like tucked away back there. It was like right there at one of the holes, but like nice building. You sort of like walk right in off the course. Anyhow, I was just sitting there and enjoying, but when I was up on stage on a panel with some wicked dudes, my boy Dustin Brome, Jason Frazier, my friend Haley Parker was sort of moderating the whole thing. And behind us was the golf course, palm trees and just beautiful, right? Like, I mean, stuff that we just here in Toronto don't get to see all the time. And, I'm sitting there going, oh my God, this is where I get to work today. I'm calling this work. Like, this is wild. And we're having this wicked panel about social and everything else. And then this one lady goes, well, I don't know what to post. I don't know what to come up with. Back to my question around like content, right? Like, what do you do, right? And she's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, listen, like, do you see your office for the day right now? Why wouldn't you just snap a picture and say, this is my office for the day?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, I don't think my life is that exciting. I don't see why people would care about that. I'm like, okay, wait a second. Do you go on social? Yeah. Do you scroll? Yeah. She goes, and I mean, I've said this one a few times already, but, she goes, while eating a sandwich or something, I'll go on there and I'll scroll. I said, okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
This is what other people are up to. She goes, yeah. I said, so why aren't other people seeing what you're up to? Why aren't you sharing that? And she goes again, like, it's not that exciting. I'm like, you're telling me that this being your office for the day is not that exciting? And it was this sort of thing, you could sort of see the light bulb go off. Now, there's two things to that. There's one about them going, hey, yeah, I could post that. That's worthy. There's the other thing about them going again, oh my God, I'm kind of shy. I don't know if I want to do it. And like, you just mentioned, it's too easy, it's too free not to. And I mean, I joke around about the fact of like, just push the frickin' button, right? Yeah. But there's a perfect piece of content. And then back to what you said with the Raptors game. So, I mean, the next day I'm at another event and behind us, there's private planes, like private jets. Dude, it was awesome, okay? And I encouraged everybody there, like, take a picture now and say, this is your office for the day. And I was so pumped and jacked and proud of everybody who did that because they start tagging you and everything else. But those are the posts that you engage with. And I mean, where I had brought that up to them was at a moment where I actually had Joshua and Leah, like in pictures of them on my slides, kind of showing Leah at her first Raptors game, which thank you.
Yeah.
And then Joshua carrying his hockey bag, right? And it was like, why are these things worthy of a post? Well, back to what you just said. The most random person will connect with you and go, oh, I saw you at the game, or, oh, I was there too, or, oh my God, first game, she's so cute, whatever. And now all of a sudden, what are you doing? You're having a conversation with people. Right?
The other day, I was at, SoCo downtown, downtown near the Air Canada or Scotiabank Arena now.
Okay.
There's a restaurant down there, and it's right under a hotel. And I used to go there all the time, and I used to set up shop to do work. Like, I just go in, plug in my laptop, and work for hours.
Oh, cool.
So a few weeks ago, I posted something. I had my laptop up, and I had a glass of wine, and I just put it up, and I'm like, my second office, right? Clicked it, posted it up. I got more likes on that than I did on any other information I threw out that day. People just like, hey, having a great time here at SoCo downtown, and that's your office, enjoying a glass of wine. And I'm like, think about how people reacted to that.
Yeah, man. That's what it comes down. There's building your brand, okay?
Yeah.
It's who are you? Don't show a picture of you going 5 bottles deep of the wine, okay?
No.
Right? But it's that little thing of, look, I'm working. I'm at a cool place. Maybe they want to know, how's the food? How's the service? Oh, my God, I was just there. Maybe they go, oh, my God, I'm doing the same thing. I'm at the table next to you and you didn't even see me. Like, who knows?
There's a work hard, play hard sort of thing about me that everybody knows. I'll put in the hours, but when it's time to let loose, I let loose. But I got a good balance on that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But people can relate to that. People can say, I love that. That's cool that he could do his work and have a glass of wine. That's awesome. Or he can, go out to Raptors games all the time. You know what most people tell me, though? Ask if you work really, really hard. Because they see all the other stuff I'm doing. They respect the work. They respect the hard part of it. They respect the down and out moments, and they applaud and they cherish those moments of, hey, he's doing really well, right? So they're living with me through social media. They're living my life with me through social media.
There's the way to build your brand on social.
Yeah,
that is wicked, buddy.
It's amazing.
So just looking at the time, and I know you got where to be. Do you read at all? Do you do anything like that?
I do read. I got to be honest with you. I don't read as much as I should.
Okay.
And I think part of that has to do with the fact that in our industry, we read so much documentation to begin with that to pick up a book isn't the most appealing thing, right? Now, I do make an effort to try. I probably have a stack of books that I bought with the intention of reading, and they're sitting there. I got to get to them. I got to at the time.
I'm going to introduce you to Audible. Okay.
I'm told.
I read a couple times, a few books a month for sure. Audible is phenomenal because you get to consume it while you're doing anything. But this also goes into the idea of voice marketing and podcasts. Is that it's a lot easier to consume for people while they're on the go because they can listen to us than having to, let's say, watch or pick up a book and read, because I can't do that stuff while I'm driving per se, or jogging or mowing the lawn or whatever. But consuming voice content, I totally can. And I would just sort of throw that in there and sort of say to everybody, voice marketing is massive. It's in its infancy stages. We know that the Alexas are going like gangbusters into people's homes. Somebody was telling me the other day they sold 30 million of those things at like the holiday season. People are taking them. People are buying them. People are putting them in. And I mean, again, from our phones, we can listen to the podcast. We can listen to the book. So it's being in such an infancy stage when you were looking at brand building. Voice marketing is that next generation to what video did for us. And video's not dying. Video is still incredibly, incredibly powerful. But we know that voice is a place that, again, if you want to look at that next level of how do I build my brand? How do I put content out there? Again, for everybody listening, voice marketing is absolutely, absolutely massive.
Imagine when we were growing up. This stuff didn't exist.
No, man.
Look at how we've evolved over the years and how things have changed. We've gone through different changes of technology and things that we knew are obsolete today, right?
Right, but we still use some of those old school methods. I mean, picking up the phone and calling people or sending people stuff by mail. We might look and say, people, they don't want me to call them. They just want me to text them. Yeah, but there's a moment there for a second when we're talking about like the biggest asset in their entire life or their money. Yeah. There's got to be a moment there where you pick up the phone and you really reassure people that things are good.
Oh, for sure. Listen, my friends, unless it's business related, send me a WhatsApp message. Send me a text. They're not listening to voicemails. They're not going to pick up the phone and have a convo unless it's something major. Then we can have a convo. Right. Otherwise, send me a text.
Yeah.
Which I'm still adjusting to that concept, right? I like the phone. I talk all the time.
But that's the world we grew up in, right? And we're in that middle range right now where there's a generation of folks that have been in the business a hell of a lot longer than us, who are true professionals, who are kind of looking at all this going, it's not me. I don't want to be there. There's another group of those same people that are kind of going, oh my God, I want to be there, but I'm not, I'm kind of timid to be there. Then you've got the group that's kind of came in after us, who's like, phone calls? Like, I don't want to call people. And you're like, you got to mix some of your new with your old. And I mean, again, that's where, things like calendars and postcards or newsletters and the emails and the phone calls and going to see people and doing the lunch and the coffee, that stuff is still gold. Now when you compare that up with today's tech, you're now truly doing a great job at building mindshare, right? Now you can't not see me.
Yeah, exactly. I have certain friends that some of the mail-based stuff they receive, they look at that more than they look at social media. And then some of them, it's whatever they're on their phones, or, it's when we go out and we see each other, that's when they interact. Like, everybody's different. There's no one way of doing things where it's consistent for everybody. So you do your best to kind of do as much as you can.
Totally, man. Listen, buddy, this has been absolutely amazing. I know you got some stuff to go on. Where can people find you before we go?
Listen, they can check out our website at www.integritytree.ca. They can find us there, all of our services and all the things we do. And that's about it.
Wicked. Guys, make sure you check them out. Follow them on Instagram. Follow them on Facebook. Again, when you want to talk about building a brand, using the power of social media, not spending stupid money on that, not thinking you got to blow the bank on it, but just doing it genuinely, doing it organically. Asif is a great guy to follow. And I mean, take it out of the social media world and just go into the whole thing of money and insurance and everything else. Definitely a guy that I trust. And that's a big reason why I wanted to bring him on today. He's killing it with brand building as an entrepreneur. He's got a lot more insight. I know you and I mean, like we have many times, we can talk about this stuff. But I mean, again, from a professionalism standpoint, man, you've certainly been a model for people to follow on that. So I encourage everybody to watch this guy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. So you either listen to this on iTunes, Google Podcast, Stitcher, or Spotify, or maybe you went to industrysyndicate.com or even mindshare101.com. Wherever you like to consume your content, please rate, review, and subscribe. And if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at DavidGreenspan101. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thanks, everyone, for listening.